This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. On today's episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible, we're going to be diving into why having great microphone technique makes a difference and what you can do to improve yours. But before we delve into that, I want to let you know that my mastermind is currently open. If you are an ambitious, purpose-driven entrepreneur or coach, and you know that you want to make a difference in the world, but are struggling to thrive in this online space, and you want to take yourself from wherever you've plateaued with your income to those 5k, 7k, 10k, 20k months and beyond, so that you can have a powerful presence and get the results in your bank account, then do get in touch. Go to www.annaparkernaples.co.uk/mastermind. I'm taking applications right now, and I do want to be clear that my mastermind is by application and invite only. I'm a big believer that working with the right people is the best way that I can deliver value and that you can get results. My mastermind's for 12 months and it is very hands-on. It is a weekly call that you have with a group of amazing people, all driven to take action and make things happen. And not only do we meet weekly, but I also bring in high-level guest experts who are phenomenal at what they do in helping you write your book, publish your book, speak on stages, get in the press, really hone your social media content. Because these are the things that can help you stand out from the crowd and get you the results that you want. So if you know that you're sick of not getting the results, if you know you need a kick up the backside and a supportive helping hand, then do apply if you think you'd be a great fit for the Action Takers Mastermind. So on with the show. This is part of the Podcasting for Business series, and I think microphone technique is something that it sounds a little bit boring, but the difference it can make is phenomenal to the audio that you're putting out there. And whether you are already doing a podcast or potentially you are creating video content and using a microphone, some of these tips are going to make a big difference for you. So the reason in the first place that microphone technique is important is that if you get too close to the microphone, you can actually distort the quality of it. So it's painful on the ears of the listener, or it's not usable at all because you have effectively blown up the audio and it can't be fixed in the edit. This is when we hear those big booming voices and it just sounds really unpleasant. The other thing that happens with poor microphone technique is that you can sound as though you are in the distance somewhere, that you're totally off mic. Now, this can happen if you are speaking to the side of your microphone, but the direction of your voice isn't actually going in. So you could be above, below, or to the side of your mic. And it just sounds like you've popped out of the room. And it doesn't give for a good audio quality experience, and again, can be quite challenging in the edit. A good rule of thumb literally is a rule of thumb. If you were to outstretch your hand and imagine from your finger to your thumb, that's the perfect distance for you to be from your microphone. Certainly no less than that. You could be a little bit further away, but if you have that rule of an outstretched hand, finger to thumb, you have got a good position from your microphone as long as your levels are set to accompany that. And this episode isn't about setting your levels or setting the gain. But on the whole, that would give you a good distance. Now, when you get this right, when you get your positioning right, you hit what we call the sweet spot. It just sounds glorious. Your voice sounds rich, it sounds full, it sounds amazing. And what you will know instinctively if you're wearing a pair of headphones, which I'll talk about in other episodes. If you're wearing headphones and you hit the sweet spot, you will know that you just sound like you zing, which is what we want with audio. So the next thing then with microphone technique is making sure that you're doing the best to use your equipment. So each microphone is a little bit different. Some will be ones where you have to speak into the end of the microphone. For example, the one I'm talking into now is the Sontronics Podcast Pro, and I have to speak into the very end, what looks like the top of the microphone, if you will. If you're using Blue Yeti, for example, depending on which setting you're using, you actually are wanting to speak into the sides of the microphone. So that concept of how we would imagine someone doing karaoke and singing into the top of the mic is not necessarily how your microphone picks up the best sound. So you've got to make sure you understand from the manufacturer exactly how to use that particular microphone. The other thing then, depending on the type of microphone, is whether you have it that it is on a tabletop stand or whether you have it on a boom arm or a raised arm that can be adjustable in front of you and potentially above you. Because how that is positioned in front of you is going to make a difference. If you have a microphone that is on a tabletop stand, you've got to be careful that you don't have it too low on the table so you are collapsing your body to lean into the microphone. So I always recommend that if you've got a tabletop stand, you make sure that the microphone is actually on the level with where you're sitting, on the level with your mouth, so that you're not collapsing your diaphragm, not collapsing your lungs, not collapsing your posture, because this can make a difference to your delivery and the energy that goes behind what you're saying. And with podcasts particularly, we pick up on all sorts of non-physical communication. If you have a microphone that is then on a boom arm in front of you, so it's maybe clamped to a table or positioned in some other way, if the microphone is above and in front of you, you want to make sure that it isn't so high that you're actually straining the front of your neck, because that can actually cause some damage and strain to your vocal cords. So make sure again that you have it so that it is not out of reach for you and you're not accidentally tilting your head up too much and compressing those vocal cords. In terms of the equipment used, to get the best out of your microphone, you do want to make sure that you're using a pop shield or a wind foam cover to prevent those plosives, which are the letters P's and B's, from distorting your audio. Some microphones will actually have a pop shield built into them. And you need to just sort of have a play around with what works best for you, because even with a built-in pop shield, sometimes if you're particularly aggressive with some of your consonants, you might want to have an additional pop shield or foam cover over the top anyway. Certainly if you're outside and you're recording anywhere there might be some wind, you definitely want to have a wind foam cover, because we all know that knocking sound of just the lightest breeze on a microphone can actually be quite uncomfortable for the ear. The other thing to think about with your microphone technique is whether you're going to sit or stand for your delivery. You might be surprised to hear that we can tell whether someone is putting more or less energy depending on how they've positioned their body. And you want to find what works for you. If you find that you get really tired and a bit lazy when you're doing your podcasts and you listen back to them and you think, oh, that really wasn't terribly engaging or energetic, then maybe next time try standing up for part of your interview or your conversation. You might be surprised at the level of resonance that comes through your voice, comes through your body, comes through your speech, because you've changed your body position. Another thing I want to mention, which we're going to be doing a podcast episode on a little bit more detail very soon with a special guest, is about the importance of warming up your voice before you get started with talking into your microphone. So I'm talking here about ensuring that you have good clarity in your speech. It isn't that we want you to sound proper and lose your accent. That's not what it's about. But it's about making sure that your consonants are as clear as possible. Very often we're lazy in our speech. I know I am when I come in here and I'm talking off the cuff. I don't always remember my T's, my G's. I don't always remember to be concise and clear with rounding off my sentences because of my accent, and that's fine. But sometimes, particularly if we're recording early on in the morning or early on in the day, articulators aren't quite ready. They're not quite working to their optimum level. And this can actually make your speech sound a bit slurred. So the more warm-up exercises you can do, whether it is a tongue twister or literally trilling up and down the scale, can not only help the clarity of your speech for your listener, but also helps you to warm up your vocal folds so that you're going to prevent vocal damage. If you are someone who is doing a lot of Zoom calls at the moment, or you do a lot of speaking professionally, or you're doing a lot of back-to-back interviews on podcasts, you do want to make sure that you've protected your voice in some way, and doing regular warm-ups and knowing what you're doing with your vocal instrument, because that is what your voice is, can actually just improve the delivery that you're putting out there, as well as looking after your vocal health. Another thing then, before you get going in front of the microphone, is to consider what you eat and drink. It might surprise you to know that things like tea and coffee can massively dehydrate your voice, can dehydrate your mouth, which in turn has a knock-on effect on how sticky your saliva becomes. And when your saliva becomes sticky, there's all sorts of strange and wonderful natural noises that can occur in your mouth. And as a result, because microphones are powerful, they pick up all of that stuff. And that isn't necessarily what you want. So do consider what you eat and drink before you go in front of a microphone. And a little word there in terms of hydration. It's not just about having a sip of water before you start talking. It's about generally increasing and improving your hydration levels so that you can have a much better delivery all round and again protect those vocal cords. I'm a big fan of eating an apple without its peel just before I go live because it clears my palate. The same if you have some minty chewing gum. It just clears your mouth and cleans your mouth, again giving you much more clarity in your delivery. These are simple tricks, but they really do make a difference. So if you know that you don't feel as though you're getting quite the best quality of sound, then do consider these things. What's your position like in front of your microphone? In terms of the distance from the mic, are you actually speaking into the right part of the microphone? Are you using the extra pieces of equipment such as wind foams and pop shields to improve the quality before you go into the edit? Are you sitting or standing? Are you giving the right energy into your podcast? Can you warm up your mouth? Can you warm up those articulators to get your jaw, your lips, your tongue moving effectively? And can you take precautions to warm up your voice so that you're not doing long-term damage and giving yourself a sore throat? So I hope this has given you pause for thought today, and I really look forward to hearing from you if you would like to apply for the Action Takers Mastermind. Just a quick reminder to head over to check out the application page at www.annaparkernaples.co.uk/mastermind.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.